Going on YouTube, Colorbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be spotlighting Primarina for the upcoming Regulation H format. So, Flutter Mane is gone, and now we need a new dominant fairy type within the meta, and Primarina is one of those options that you can definitely consider, and it is extremely popular right now, and the tournament results just show that for good reason. Why? Water Fairy is an excellent typing, alright? Think about Tapu Fini, right? Think about the bulk that thing had, and now you have Primarina here. And you know, the main selling point with Primarina is that dragon immunity, and then at the same time you have access to Haze in this format, right? And Haze is important for a couple of Pokemon in particular, and you know, the main one is of course Dondozo, right? If you're going up against an opposing Dondozo and it has all these commander buffs, what you can simply do is just Haze away all those debuffs away, and you know, Dondozo can't get it back up with something like Order Up, because that's a dragon move and you can't click that into Primarina, so you'll win the 1v1 in that sense. And then when it comes down to Tatsugiri, of course you always have that hard-hitting Moonblast, and you know, Tatsugiri can't really match you in that regard, right? So that's good. And then of course Hyper Voice, you know, with Liquid Voice is just going to do so much damage. It becomes a water move, good spread damage overall. And then something like Protect here. We're going to talk about the sets in a second, but it's not just Dondozo, right? You know, just also consider stuff like Hydreigon, okay? Hydreigon, as well as Gholdengo, also pair well next to Primarina. Why? Because again, you know, think about Hydreigon going for these hard-hitting Draco Meteors, and then all of a sudden you have this -2 factor on you, right? And then you're kind of forced to switch it out, so this way you can remove those debuffs. But you don't have to anymore. Now you can just use Primarina, haze away those debuffs, and you're kind of okay. The same way Mirko was on this core with Hydreigon and Gholdengo, right? The same thing, right? When you click Make It Rain and you're taking that reduction, you can just haze it away, you know, and that's really the main selling point of Mirko with this kind of format. Just using haze to wipe away opposing Dondozo buffs and also your own stat reductions in particular, right? So, but you know, Mirko doesn't really put on pressure, right? But Primarina does, and it matches well into Dondozo, right? So that's the main idea, you know, by using Primarina this time around, right? And at the same time, you know, when you're up against something like Arkeladin, you know, versus, you know, as opposed to something like Sylveon, which is another really strong fairy type this time around, you know, let me just take away these things off the screen for a second. Like, the Sylveon is weak to Flash Cannon from an Arkeladin, but Primarina is not. It's neutral because of that water typing, right? This is the reason why water fairy typing is, you know, a solid typing, because you can kind of neutralize your weaknesses, okay? So that's the positive for Primarina, right? Now, if you look at its other stats, you know, you are rather slow, you know, base speed 60, which means that you're going to be speed tying with a lot of the other dominant base speed 60 Pokemon, right? So you have to keep that in mind when you're going into battle. So who are these Pokemon? We talked about in this other video. You have stuff like Incineroar, also a base speed 60. You have stuff like Pelipper, another base speed 65 Pokemon. Sometimes they may go max speed, sometimes they don't. Tyranitar is another one that's also base speed 60. Even a Sylveon over here is also base speed 60, right? So you have equal fairy types, you know, in Sylveon and Primarina that are both base speed 60 that fall within this category, right? And then there's a bunch more. Like, how about the Hisuian Decidueye, right? This is another Pokemon that's another base speed 60, right? If I had to pick a, you know, like a category of most important base speed 60s, right, it would be 60, because there's so much more, there's so much top 20 Pokemon that are within that speed tier, and that's important. That means like Tailwind is very important in this kind of format. But anyway, that being said, in terms of building around Primarina, I think first of all, I think Throat Spray is a really good item behind it. And then there's like some other sets that you can use, and then in terms of like building around it, we'll talk about the allies in a second. But just in terms of what else can you do with Primarina, you can even just consider a Calm Mind Leftover set. That's also a thing that you can do. Now, if you give up the Haze, okay, I will say then that means you're going to have to give up you're going to have an Amoonguss on your team with something like Clear Smog, right? So then just consider that, right? But these are your two most common sets. There is a Citrus Berry set. We'll talk about that in a second. But what would be like a decent EV spread here for something like Throat Spray? So, you know, I like just Modest here. You know, max speed Modest is pretty good here. Just going to, you know, the second bump here. So here's the first one here, right? And no, actually that was the second one. Here's the first one here. Then the second one, another 80 EVs, right? So, you know, here's the second bump, right? And if you're trying to get better at creating EV spreads in competitive Pokemon, make sure you comment in the video below what are EV bumps, because you cannot make optimal EV spreads if you don't know what EV bumps are. So make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps. I will respond to you, and hopefully you will understand what these EV bumps are, and that'll help you in the future when it comes to your own team building and creating EV spreads in VGC. All right, but anyway, let's go to the second bump here. Let's go for some bulk here, but ultimately we want to go for some speed. Obviously, you know, just to outspeed certain threats. So let's go some investment. I'm going to go to about 92 here. This is pretty good. And then this bulk here, by the way, you know, this is good enough. 252 with 52 defense. This is going to live Adamant, 252 Grassy Glide from a Rillaboom, right? So I think that's a damage calc worth calcing for. They're forced to go Wood Hammer, but if you outspeed them, you have a chance to KO them, right? So after that, we just put 1 point there in Spadef. So that's okay. You only needed about this much to outspeed something like a Dondozo, by the way, right? So if that was a calc that you were going for, right, you know, because you only need about 176 because Dondozo caps at 175, then at that point, okay, sure, this is all you need, but then we can just go about 92 here, you know, just a little bit more speed. I think it's just worthwhile, right? And especially in terms of like mirror matchups, especially. So that's our Primarina set. Now, what about if you had something like Leftovers? So, you know, Leftovers still more or less the same thing. You know, if this was like on a Trick Room team, Calm Mind, ideally there would be like double fake out and redirection support. So if you were like a slower Primarina, I would still go for the same thing, right? Where you're just 252 modest with this set here. Okay, you have a nice even number here, and then just go like this much in Spadef, right? Because you're already very strong in the special defense department. And then if you are on like a Trick Room team, then you don't really need that much speed. You can just put like this much, and then after that, just dump the rest here into defense like that, right? And that's really all you need in terms of like a Calm Mind set. Just be super slow and super bulky. Rely on your screens, your fake outs, and your redirection to help you set up that Calm Mind, right? But again, this is only good if you have Clear Smog on your team, you know, from something like an Amoonguss, right? The same thing can be said if you were like a Citrus Berry set. So, you know, just re-optimize your HP a little bit. Like, give yourself that even number. So something like this could be good. And then, you know, if you want to go back to being super bulky and then, you know, with that speed number, you know, just about 192 here, then just dump the rest here into defense like this, right? And that's really all you need. Okay, and then again, this is if you were not Calm Mind. This is if you had that Haze buff again, right? So lots of different ways, but more or less, you know, this is what I would do if I was a Primarina, right? Just go to the second benchmark. There's some special attack, a lot of HP, you know, some speed investment, maybe not max speed, but some speed. You know, you're slow anyway, so let's build towards that, and then just go for some physical bulk. And in this case, the calc that I was going for was that Rillaboom Grassy Terrain, Grassy Glide, right? So that's what I would do for, you know, my Primarina set. And then, you know, you can also consider something like Mystic Water here. I've seen this set too. Again, just something that can do more damage with your Hyper Voice is okay. That's also definitely fine if you want to, you know, go that direction. You know, you could replace the Throat Spray, and this way you don't have to set up, just go for immediate damage. So if you want to do that, then that's also okay. But either way, hopefully you can maybe make some use out of these EV spreads, and hopefully it works on your team. But again, it's good if you have Tailwind on your side coming from something like a Talonflame or maybe a Hydreigon. But overall, I think these are like good sets here. Now, in terms of like pairing free Primarina with partners, I think it's always good to start with, you know, your Fire, Water, Grass partners. So, you know, Primarina fulfilling that water type. I think the easy choices immediately are just like Incineroar and Rillaboom here. And then from there, you can kind of just add more pairs, but this is another good solid starting point for Primarina, right? Because again, Grassy Terrain Rillaboom, it's going to help Primarina get passive recovery over time, double fake out pressure, you know, just to stop one attack and then get your Hyper Voices off a little bit easier. That's one way to consider it. And, you know, just there's always going to be a good solid team, you know, with these two on the side, right? So you can definitely consider it like that. Otherwise, you can add Tailwind on your team with something like a Talonflame. This is another Fire, Water, Grass core, because now you can also just simply add the Steel type in Gholdengo, which is really solid. But overall, I think something like this is going to be good. So if I had to do Rillaboom, just slap on an Assault Vest here, simply fake out Wood Hammer, Grassy Glide, okay? and your pivot move in U-turn. Okay, let's go Terra Fire here, and then you can just do like 132 investments in your HP for that optimal grassy terrain recovery number. Again, factor of 16 is important. Then you can go 196. Let's go to the third bump here in terms of our attack stat. And then, from here you can opt to up speed the, what's that thing called? The Blood Moon Ursaluna. That thing caps at like 114-ish. So you can consider that. Otherwise, you can just go to 116 and, just get 1 point, a little bit more in there. Then after that, you can just dump the rest here into Spadef here. Make sure you get a nice solid even number. So this way the Assault Vest 1.5 multiplier doesn't give you an odd number, which means that would give you a decimal. And now, because we don't have that odd number, we have an even number. We're not going to get a decimal. Our stat is not going to round down. We're going to get a nice solid whole number. And then we just dump the rest into physical defense like this, right? So, Primarina, Rillaboom, and then Talonflame, very standard set that you can even just do like Covert Cloak. So this way, you don't really get faked out, if people want to go into if you want to go into your Tailwind. Flare Blitz, Brave Bird, priority Brave Bird, with the Gale Wings is always going to be solid. And then something like Will-O-Wisp, just like in Sonora, some neutralizing physical damage attack is going to be nice, right? And then after that, you just go max speed like this, and then just 1 point every time in the bulk stats, right? Just like this. So this is what I would do with something like Talonflame, and along with Rillaboom and of course Primarina. So like this is another Fire, Water, Grass core you can consider. And then Gholdengo likely comes here. And then if you want to do it like this, okay, now you just look for pairs, right? And then like I said, you could easily do Maushold Annihilape with something like this, right? We've seen this team already do very, very well. So might as well go at it again. Friend Guard, of course, is really good with Maushold. Annihilape is also really good with the Defiant boost. Again, a strong fighting type into something like Archeladon is going to be solid, right? So from here, there's a couple of other directions you can take the team. You don't even have to do like Maushold and Annihilape. But I do like Gholdengo on teams like this, especially when you have Tailwind and Fake Out Pressure. That's going to help you, set up and just go for hard-hitting Make It Rains early on. You could definitely consider that. Otherwise, another cool Fire, Water, Grass card that you can do is instead of Talonflame, you can even do Volcarona. I think Volcarona is another very solid Pokemon this format as well. And, just going for something like, Fiery Dance or Heat Wave, and then just going for the Giga Drain, Terra Grass stuff, and then Quiver Dance to outspeed the format along with Protect, right? Let's go maybe even Terra Dragon or Terra Grass. Either way is okay. You could do Safety Goggles, Leftovers. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It depends on you. But you could do something like this, right? And then this is another good solid Fire, Water, Grass core, with Volcarona. So, depends on how you want to build the squad and what's on the rest of your team. But ideally, Primarina does really well starting with that FWG, also known as, again, that Fire, Water, Grass core. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show you some teams already using the LabMouse website that have done well with Primarina and, with that Fire, Water, Grass core. Maybe you can see how some of these teams are structured. All right. So let's take a look. Okay. So now we're back onto the LabMouse website. And again, if you're trying to, get some inspiration for your team, simply search up and filter Pokemon that you want to build around and see what people have done already, right? This is the power and the strength of the LabMouse website. Use your resources, right? If you're a beginner VGC player, and if you're a casual player for that matter, and you're trying to get better, one way to really do that is to utilize your resources very, very well, right? Because you can't do it on your own because you don't know what you're doing yet, right? So if you learn to utilize your resources and see and study information that's out there, that's only going to help you get better as a player, right? So here's our resource. We're looking at LabMouse. We've done Primarina. We've done the date filters pretty much from the start that the format was announced, which was the last day of July, up until now, which is August 9th. And these are the teams that come up when we have Primarina, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these teams and see what are some of these common cores that they're doing. But you can pretty much see Maushold Annihilape is on a lot of these teams. And it makes sense, right? Because you do need that strong fighting type, to help you against a lot of different matchups, but most specifically that Archeladon matchup where, which sometimes gives a lot of people trouble, right? So let's look at the top team here. Yoman Mancuso, right? So if we look at this team, typical Maushold Annihilape squad. You have Primarina, you have Rillaboom, you have Hydreigon here too. So that's really, really nice. And then you have a Blood Moon Ursaluna all of a sudden. So no Talonflame Tailwind, no Fire type. But instead we're going with the Blood Moon here. And that's okay because Blood Moon, you know, as a ground type does very well into Archeladon, right? So you either need a strong fighting type or you need a strong ground type for that Archeladon matchup. Because again, Primarina doesn't really want to deal with Electro Shot. You do have the neutral Moonblast, but sometimes it's just not enough. So if you can position and get something like a Blood Moon or a Life Orb Hydreigon Draco Meteorid, that's going to help it a lot because then Primarina can just clean up in the back, right? But this is one way to do it. Maushold Annihilape. All right, so that's, again, beat up stuff. Follow me, redirection support. You have Haze. There's the Mystic Water set. So something like this is pretty good. How about Marioha? So this one does have that Volcarona Fire, Water, Grass card that we talked about with Rillaboom here. And it's a Rocky Helmet set. Here's the Tailwind, right? So that's good speed control for everyone here. You know, not just Annihilape, but even Gholdengo here. And then at the same time, you have Redirection with Rage Powder. And, you know, Struggle Bug is also a very, very good move here. So this is a good support Volcarona set. I like this a lot. And again, Gholdengo here, you know, with behind screens and fake out and the redirection, you can set up the nasty plot with the Make It Rain. It's going to do well. This is Citrus Berry Primarina, right? So, you know, Haze, just in case if you don't have any chances to set up, you can always just wipe that away. So I like Haze on Gholdengo teams here. So it makes a lot of sense. Then over here, again, still the Maushold Annihilape theme. So again, Gholdengo, Rillaboom, and Hydreigon. This is still fine. This is Tailwind Hydreigon. So that's good. So now, again, the rest of the team still has speed control here. Metal Coat Gholdengo this time, right? This is Throat Spray Primarina, and here's Rillaboom Fake Out Pressure. Again, very, very good. So instead of having something like Talonflame here, we're going to add Hydreigon here with Tailwind and be more of a support set. That's still totally fine, right? You still have this strong fighting type here, you know, in the Annihilape. All right, how about this one? This one's also pretty cool, right? This is a Sand team, you know, with Tyranitar, Garchomp, Corviknight. We showed this in the previous video when we were talking about Tyranitar, Excadrill, Sand teams. This is another variant that you can consider, but this is Calm Mind Primarina, right? And that means you need Clear Smog, and that is exactly what they have. They do have Clear Smog Among Us. They do give up Protect, which is, you know, there's an argument there, but at least you have something for that Dondozo matchup, right? So that's okay. All right, how about Kaguya here? So again, another Volcarona team, you know, with Rillaboom. You know, again, one of my favorite Fire, Water, Grass cores that's not named Incineroar. Here's Maushold, but no Annihilape here. Instead, we do have King Gambit, which is kind of cool. So no need for beat up here. You can do Super Fang. Follow me. How about After You? Oh, that's interesting. All right, then you have the Zoroark here, you know, doing Zoroark shenanigans. So a little bit more playable this format. So that's cool. This is Hendez's team. So I mentioned it in the previous video. This is pretty much the way that we had Primarina pre-built in the team builder. Hendez beat us to it. He managed to debut this squad in the 450 person Himi tournament yesterday. So shout outs to them. This is pretty much how we would do it. The only difference is that I had Taunt over here, but that's okay. Right, but you know, shout outs to Hendez for again another good Fire, Water, Grass core with Primarina, Instant, Rillaboom. There's the Annihilape, there's the Gholdengo. It looks pretty good here, so I have no complaints. How about this one? This one is Sirox's team. He's been using this team for a very, very long time. So he's had a couple of variants, right? He's had Garchomp here, but he's also changed this out for Gastrodon, which makes a lot of sense also, you know, because Gastrodon does very well into Archeladon. You have a super effective ground move into it, and then at the same time, you are a ground type. Electro Shot, not going to do any damage into you. And then, of course, you get to resist Flash Cannon also, right? So he's got no choice but to click Draco. And if that doesn't KO, then oh well. All right, but Hisuian Decidueye, again, another niche Pokemon that we still have to do a video around. But, you know, with Scrappy, you can't get intimidated. And then you are a fighting type. You have fighting coverage. You're also a grass type. You know, so again, you get to resist the Electro Shot. So that's good too. And then here's Talonflame, Hydreigon, Gholdengo. I love that core along with Primarina. I think it's very, very good, depending on how you look at it in terms of the rest of the team. But I do think this is the core four. This is Specs Hydreigon with Snarl, which you can do because you have Tailwind coming from the Talonflame here. So this is okay. I like this a lot. How about F Monkey over here? I don't know if this is specifically his team because there's a variant of this running around. But again, Maushold Annihilape, Talonflame, Primarina, Gholdengo, Rillaboom, right? Pretty standard Fire Water Grass core with the Maushold. So nothing else, you know, too crazy over here, right? It is Citrus Berry Primarina, so that's okay. But anyway, so you kind of get the idea with a lot of these Primarina squads. Again, they're gonna have, you know, ideally the Maushold. Okay, some other teams also have Maushold because it's just a very splashable duo. But again, a good solid Fire Water Grass core is usually where you want to start with that Primarina. All right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back into Team Builder. We're gonna build you a couple of Primarina teams and then showcase them a little bit and then get you this the Pokepastes and get you guys out of here. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's go back to our Fire Water Grass core here. So let's start with the Maushold core. So let's do Primarina, let's do Rillaboom, and then we'll do Talonflame and Gholdengo, right? You know, I love Talonflame, Gholdengo this format. Having a lot of fun just clicking Tailwind and just clicking Make It Rain stuff / Nasty Plot. You know, play super greedy. If you remember how we played in Sword and Shield, we always played super greedy. All right, then from here, Maushold, and give me that strong fighting type in Annihilape. So this is what we're gonna do. You know, and again, we've already done our Primarina set. I think I'll stay with this. I think it's pretty solid. I will probably drop the speed a little bit. Let me drop it to 60. I've got Tailwind already. Let me just outspeed Dondozo. Let me dump the rest here into the Special Defense Department. I think this is okay at the end of the day. I don't have any problem with this. Let me just take a look here. Yeah, this is fine. So Hyper Voice, Moonblast, Haze, okay, and then, you know, Throat Spray, of course, with the Hyper Voice, Liquid Voice. Let's go Terra Grass, by the way. I think Terra Grass is going to be good for Primarina. You know, not get spoiled by Amoonguss, resist grass moves, resist Electro Shot. So, you know, it's pretty much the best Terra type for Primarina right now as of today, I guess. All right, Rillaboom, we'll keep this the same. Adamant 196 is the way we want. Talonflame, let's go Covert Cloak. Okay, we'll go with that previous set here. You know, just Terra Flying, you know, Flare Blitz, you know, Brave Bird, and then at the same time, Will-O-Wisp, okay? And then just the same set that we just showed before. You know, just the timid, the Jolly 252 set almost, right? But, you know, that's all we really need our Talonflame to do. All right, Gholdengo. So we've got Rillaboom, so that's fine. You know, I think the Annihilape will get leftovers here. And then Maushold, I think we'll put the Goggles here, okay? Which means Gholdengo, I'm going to go Life Orb. I always like Aggression on Gholdengo. And then if you really want to, you can definitely consider Metal Coat. If you don't like the Life Orb here, you can definitely do Metal Coat. But I like Life Orb. A little bit more damage. Shadow Ball does more damage now. So that's for me. But either way, you know, Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Nasty Plot, and then Protect here, okay? If you do like the Choice Specs Trick set, that can help you a little bit more into Trick Room stuff. But I'm okay in that regard. I don't have any trouble with this kind of squad with Trick Room stuff. Anyway, so Gholdengo Terra Dragon, you know, resist, you know, that fire weakness. Maushold here, let's just do Beat Up. Let's do Follow Me. Let's have Taunt here. That's going to help as well. And then Protect here. And then Terra goes at the same time, right? And then the Annihilape here. Let's go Defiant, obviously, right? And then from here, we can do Drain Punch, we can do Rage Fist, we can do Bulk Up, and then Protect at the end. Terra Fire is pretty strong, so we'll go that direction. All right, and this is it. So this is one way to consider it, right? And then from here, let's just, you know, finish off our EV spreads here. Gholdengo, let's just go Modest here. I think Modest is okay. Let's go, how much speed do I want to do? I think 116 is also pretty good. Rillaboom also doing that as well. So let me, let's go 120. I think Annihilape, we want to go 120, right? You know, again, just outspeed Pelipper, you know, because they cap at, what is it, 118? So Gholdengo, we can go to 119 just about, right? We can definitely do this. I think that's okay. And then from there, optimize Life Orb Chip. Let's go 189. 132 in investments for the second EV bump there. And then we have 48 EVs left. So you could just do 20 points here, 20 points there, and then these last points over here in that sense, right? Either way, you know, you could even make your Gholdengo faster, which is still okay if you want to go that direction. You know, we can do that. So we can make this 120 and make the Annihilape 121. I think that's also okay. We might end up doing that. But first, let's just do Maushold over here. So I think you just want to do Jolly here, max speed, and then at the same time, you know, just 1 point in maybe defense here and just max HP here, right? You know, we don't really want to hurt our Annihilape too much with the beat up stuff. So I think this is okay here. All right, here's the Annihilape. So we have that 120 speed here. I think Adamant is the way we want to do this. I will go 208. Again, leftovers, grassy terrain recovery. I think 208 is a good number to have. Let's also focus on even numbers for both our attack and defense stat. So something like this, where, you know, Adamant 116 gets me to the bump. Let's go 1 point more, you know, for the bulk up stuff. And then, you know, again, another nice even number for the defense, and then just dump the rest here into special defense, because, you know, that's pretty much just what we have left over. All right, now what you can do is just take 1 point off the SPDF and just put this here in speed, and then we can make our Gholdengo 120. So let's take off 1 point there in the SPDF, and let's go 120 there. So now our Annihilate outspeeds our Gholdengo by 1 point. So now we know the speed interaction when the time comes. All right, but this is it. This is version 1 of the squad. So, you know, again, pretty standard based on what was proven already. So you've got the Maushold Annihilape core, then you've got the aggressive, you know, Talonflame Gholdengo, Primarina stuff, and then Rillaboom, you know, situationally will come into some matchups and just click fake out Grassy Glide stuff. All right, so let's test this version first, and then we'll build you 2 more, so this way you get a good variance in what you can do with Primarina. All right, so this is actually a Sand team. Again, Garchomp, Tyranitar stuff with Rotom Heat, and there is a Rillaboom. He's got his own Primarina, so there's another Fire, Water, Grass core there. I don't know necessarily about this kind of team, but I do know that Gholdengo looks great here. So does Primarina to an extent. And again, I do have a Talonflame, so as long as I can get the speed advantage here with Tailwind, I should be okay. Gholdengo is going to do a lot of crazy damage here. So that's really what I'm going to be relying on. Okay, so as you start, I'm going to go Talonflame, Gholdengo, turn 1, right? And let's see what he does. It's going to be Garchomp, and it's going to be Rotom Heat. That means Tyranitar's in the back somewhere, right? So let's see what he does. I want to just go Tailwind immediately and just nasty plot, see what he does. He might just simply Earthquake here, which he does do. You know, he also had the option to swap in the Tyranitar and go for Rock Slide there, but again, still fine. So it's actually Earthquake Discharge. Now I understand the Rotom Heat combination here, which is good. Now Primarina gets to come in here. All right, Garchomp has no choice but to protect. All right, but now we just go Make It Rain. We have the aggression. Talonflame did its job. He killed the Talonflame, which was actually bad because now I get to go into something that's more aggressive. You know, again, that's one of those lessons where, like, sometimes picking up KOs is bad. So that might be another video. Anyway, again, we still have 2 more turns of Tailwind. Look how much damage Gholdengo is doing, you know, with that Metal Coat, again, which is now Life Orb. Iron Head into Primarina. Again, we're bulky. It doesn't matter. Tyranitar comes in. Still 1 more turn of Tailwind. All we have to do is just click the spread moves. You know, Make It Rain. So much damage. All right, Primarina still outspeeds. No Sucker Punch came out. Hyper Voice just pretty much removing everything. He clicked Rock Slide there, which is good, but a little bit too late because I still got 1 more option in the back, which is my Rillaboom, and he can't do much about it after that. You know, Make It Rain, you know, just simply cleaning up there. I have a faster Gholdengo than his T-Tar, obviously, right? But that's it. Talonflame won us this game, believe it or not, along with Gholdengo and Primarina stuff. We didn't need Maushold Annihilape here. All right, let's do another type of squad with this core 4 that's not Maushold Annihilape. I think another way to really consider this is just adding a Hydreigon here. You know, again, another good solid dark type, great into Psy Spam stuff. So, you know, if you can just add the Life Orb here instead of the Gholdengo, where you're just clicking Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, and the spread move Snarl, that's going to be good, especially with Protect. So this is also pretty good into our Keldon. You just Snarl it down, and then it can't really click its special moves. It has to result to Body Press, which is okay in that sense because, you know, if it has to click Body Press, then Gholdengo will win that endgame because, you know, you are a Ghost type, and if it's completely mitigated in terms of special attack damage, then, you know, Gholdengo will win that game because, again, Body Press is not going to be able to hit it. Same with Primarina too, right? We can resist that. So that's okay. That's how you're going to have to play that matchup. That being said, that means Life Orb on Gholdengo goes bye-bye. We can actually do Metal Coat on this time around, right? So we'll just make some EV adjustments here. Let's drop the speed 1 point here. Let's also drop the bulk here. Let's go to 192 here. Again, that Rillaboom Grassy Terrain recovery is important. So more or less the same EV spread, just changed the item and just adjusted the squad a little bit. the speed. We'll keep these guys the same. Hydreigon, again, just, you know, a timid 252 set. Let's get some Life Orb optimization in there and literally just dump the rest into special attack like this. Terra Poison Hydreigon will be okay for this. You can even go Terra Steel. You can even do Terra Fire. Whichever one works for you, but you know, this is okay for us. All right, so we've got the Dragon, Fairy Steel, Fire, Water, Grass Core, then something for Trick Room stuff. How about Ferrograph here? I do like Ferrograph. You know, again, just denying priority altogether, denying Rillaboom Grassy Terrain, denying Jet Punches, Fake Out stuff. That's also pretty good. Ferrograph still has good value. I think Citrus Berry is fine here. Otherwise, you know, if you're going up against a Mungus, you can also consider Safety Goggles. I've been going back and forth with the item, but I think Goggles is pretty good for a Mungus immunity. So this way you have 1, you have 2 with the Rillaboom, and now you have 3 with the Goggles for Grab, right? So consider that. Anyway, Psychic Noise, if anything, you could even do that, but I'll do Psychic here. If you like Psychic Noise, you know, to stop healing, that's also fine. Helping Hand, Trick Room, and we can even do Dazzling Gleam here, right? Even Terra Fairy. Ferrograph is okay in this sense, right? Now, if you like Foul Play, you can also definitely do Foul Play. That's still also fine. I think D-Gleam is also, you know, pretty okay for what we want. And it's also pretty good into a lot of the dragons and the dark types right now. Maybe like an opposing Hydreigon too. So consider that. But that being said, I just want to make this also relatively bulky. So I just want to go Relaxed Nature here. Let's go 224. Again, that Rillaboom, Magic Rillaboom Grassy Terrain optimized number. Second bump there in defense. Dump the rest in Spadev. I just need the Ferrograph to be super bulky. Again, go back and forth between Safety Goggles and the Citrus Berry. I think are all okay. Let's go Armor Tail here, by the way. That's the one that denies priority. But anyway, this is another type of squad that you can also consider that is still pretty solid. Like if you want to do like Hydreigon, Gholdengo stuff, I think Primarina also does very well here with the Haze. So consider this. And now let's go ahead. Let's test this out real quick and see how it goes. All right, a bit of a weird team that he's got. A lot of slow Mons, a lot of other, there's some base 60s in there, but no Trick Room Setter, so that's okay. Does he have Wide Guard is another question. Because otherwise Gholdengo also goes crazy here, right? Gholdengo goes crazy in a lot of games in Regulation H, so just keep that in mind. But either way, I still also like Primarina for what it can do here. Obviously, the Serperior is the main threat, because other than that, you know, Primarina also looks okay. So he's going to go Serperior. There's the Serperior. He's going to go Skeledirge here. I'm just going to go Hydreigon, and I'm also going to go Talonflame here. So I have a decent matchup in the Skeledirge there. There's the Garganacl. He goes Terra Grass Skeledirge. That's okay by me. Dark Pulse, that's still good chip damage. That's already half. Hydreigon is strong. Torch Song into the Talonflame is okay. He gets a nice special attack boost, but that's fine. My Loaded comes in. Alright, so he gets to dodge my Brave Bird there. And I go more chip damage into the Garganacl. I didn't want to click Draco just yet. And he removes the Talonflame. That's fine, because I already got Tailwind up. Now I can bring something else in that's more aggressive than the Talonflame. If anything, I would have did that into the Hydreigon. So here comes Primarina. He's going to go into Serperior because he's scared. I want to get the flinch here. I don't think I'm going to get the flinch, but again, more hyper voice pressure. He's forced to switch out. And now I get a boost here, and he clicks Recover. So good turn for him. He's still able to survive, but I did get off some good free damage. I missed the Draco, so that's not good for me. But, you know, a little bit more hyper voice damage. And the Leaf Storm is going to hurt, but he does go for Glare, so I'm very surprised he didn't go for a Leaf Storm there. But instead just parried me, and he went for that. So this way, now he gets to outspeed me without the Tailwind. But I do get the big nuke, which is good for news for me. And then my Loaded clicks Recover. Now, I also have the option to click Haze next turn. I did take a risk here, and thankfully it paid off. I didn't get him to drop his stats, right? But I want to go Rillaboom here. I just want to put pressure on both of these options and finish the game off. There's the Wide Guard like I thought he had, right? Which is still fine by me, you know, and I do get Parrot, so no Moonblast for me, right? But Rillaboom has a ton of pressure here. I can click Wood Hammer. I can click Grassy Glide. I can click Fake Out. But there's the Skeledirge, right? That's fine. He clicks Protect on the Garganacl. I wanted to click Grassy Glide there, all right? And now I did click Hyper Voice, you know, just to keep him honest with the Wide Guard. But, you know, again, the Skeledirge still lives to tell the tale, obviously, right? But now we can go for Wood Hammer. Now the Garganacl gets removed, so that's good for us. All right, and now Primarina can kind of just sit in front of the Skeletors. There's Slack Off, but what does that really do, right? Moonblast is still chipping him for so much damage, right? And now it's just the Milotic in front of a Rillaboom. So, I take a risk here. I go Grassy Glide, doesn't KO. That's unfortunate. This Milotic is super bulky. Goes for Coil. All right, Torch Song does hurt, but we have an Assault Vest, so we're okay. And I'm paralyzed again, so a little unfortunate, but again, still in a decent spot because, again, he still can't break me either. So now I get rid of the Milotic, right? There's no Protect coming out there. And he does remove the Rillaboom, but again, that's fine because I still have Haze. I get to wipe away that buff. I could have also, clicked an attack move, but this is fine. Hydreigon just wins this game. Now I connect on the Drake here, and now everything is finished off, right? So, Hydreigon really good. So, hopefully we can get another video with Hydreigon later on. And get some squats going for that. But this variant is also pretty good. All right, to save some time, I won't actually build it from scratch. I'm just going to show this type, right? So here we go. We've got Instant, Rillaboom, Primarina. This is our Fire Water Grass core. Let's go Farigiraf, Blood Moon Ursaluna, and the Gholdengo. So instead of Maushold Annihilape, we're going, Blood Moon Ursaluna, and the Farigiraf, with the Gholdengo, right? So, the Life Orb is on the Blood Moon Ursaluna. So, just like the Hydreigon team, we have to keep the Metal Coat on the Gholdengo. Farigiraf still super bulky, and then Instant is a very standard safety goggle set, with Fake Out, Knock Off Willow's Parting Shot. That means we can put the Citrus Berry on the Farigiraf, so, we still get our Among Us immunity in terms of 3. Like Instant, Rillaboom, and Gholdengo will serve for that, and even Primarina, right, because we have a Grass Terra on it, right? So, super slow here, right? So, what we've done is we've taken Primarina's speed away, and we invested it a little bit more in defensive bulk. So, that's the main idea there. It's a standard instant set, just 236 Careful Nature. I've been using this instant set for months now already. And then the Rillaboom is still pretty much the same. All right, so the idea is to, have all this spam pressure with Make It Rain, Blood Moon / Hyper Voice, and even the Primarina can do some good solid damage while still, rotating Instant and Rillaboom, alternating Fake Outs and, trying to set up here in terms of what we want out of the Gholdengo slot here, right? So let's take a look at how this variant performs. Okay, so this is Side Spam Indie Armarouge with Torkoal, and there is a Hariyama rather than an Iron Hands. This is perfect, right? The only thing that he could have also done was just simply slap on an Ursaluna here, but he wants to do the Lava Plume Dax Bun stuff with the Bread Dog. So that's okay, but look, you've got Instant, you've got Rillaboom, and that's really what you need, because you can remove Indeedee's terrain, and you're a dark type with Instant. You can kind of ignore the side spam stuff, and then just click knock off everywhere, and eventually they can't really break you unless you have something like Aura Sphere. He does have a fighting type there, but we have answers to that as well, especially with the Primarina that we have on hand. All right, so how we're going to lead against this, we're going to go Instant here, and I will go Primarina, so this way I can put some aggression into the Armarouge while still putting aggression with the Incineroar, right? So we'll keep him honest. If he wants to go Wide Guard, that's fine. That means no single target damage into Instant. So we get to knock off the Power Herb. So he's going for the best of one stuff because he clicked Meteor Beam into the Instant. So I'm definitely glad I did knock off there. But it's very strange that the Indeedee did not click Follow Me there, right? So he went for Trick Room anyway. This is fine, right? Because I'm going to go Blood Moon. I'm going to soak up that Meteor Beam. All right, and then the Primarina gets to go for free Haze here. I get to wipe off that Armarouge buff there, right? I could have also clicked Hyper Voice there to deal some damage into Torkoal, but I still think it was fine, right? So I take a big risk here. I do protect Ursaluna because I think he really wants that one dead because it puts pressure on both of them. Hyper Voice still does very good damage into the Torkoal. I definitely should have did that previous turn, but it's still fine. Now Instant gets to soak up more damage here. I'm going to protect the Primarina this turn. I know he wants the Dex Bun. That's fine. All right, he goes for Solar Beam again. He probably should have just clicked the Lava Plume at that point, but this is fine. Now I get to remove the Psychic Terrain, at least for this turn. I get to fake out the Torkoal, right? Because I know that Daxbun wants to do the Body Press Lava Plume stuff, right? This was his last turn of Trick Room. And now I know he has to go into Indeedee here. So this is where I can make the call and go for U-Turn or Wood Hammer. I decide for the Wood Hammer at the end of the day because I guessed wrong. The Indeedee came into that slot, but it's still fine. That's still more than enough damage. All right, and I do go for the Parting Shot here. And there's not really much you can do at this point, right? Because now I get to outspeed everything here. So he's going to go into Torkoal, which is fine. Our Rillaboom is strong. We go for U-Turn. That picks up the Indeedee. I'm actually surprised that picked up. And, at that point, he actually just forfeited because Hyper Voice was coming in hot. in the Sun single target, that was definitely going to pick up the Torkoal there. So there wasn't really much he could do. So, but again, the whole idea was utilizing, you know, Instant and Rillaboom to cycle in and out, and you can beat Side Spam that way if you know how to cycle those two Pokemon. All right, so we'll put out all three pastes again. So again, 3 free teams with Primarina. So this one's the Maushold, a variant with Talonflame, Rillaboom, and Gholdengo here. Life Orb Gholdengo here, really, really strong. Safety Goggles, Maushold, again, getting around the Amoonguss stuff. Then over here, the second time, you know, you have the Hydreigon Gholdengo stuff with Ferrograph, you know, Safety Goggles there as well. Then this one is, you know, the Blood Moon variant, and now you have the double Fake Out Boys with Instant and Rillaboom, right? So 3 solid teams that you can use, you know, with Primarina. I think all of them are very solid. And again, if you want your own variant, you can also look at the Lab Mouse website and see if you can get some other inspiration, you know, over there. All right, but again, if you are interested in building your own team and you need a little bit of help for Regulation H, you're not sure where to start, you need some help with EVs, make sure you sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one session with me. We get to build the team from scratch the way you want it, okay? Whether it be for ladder play, tournament play, that upcoming regional in Baltimore, whatever needs you need for Regulation H, we've got you covered. Just make sure you sign up for that Tier 3 sub. Again, look in the video description, there's a link there, or you can look in the pinned comment section of every video. It's the same link. Join that Tier 3 sub. From there, join the Discord, message me on Discord, and then we'll coordinate a common time to meet and get you the squad that you need. All right, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.